You downloaded one, maybe two, possibly four, because someone on Reddit swore by one, your gym mate uses another, and a fitness influencer you half trust just posted a sponsored video for a third. And now your phone has a folder of workout apps. You're still not sure which one to actually open, and every Monday feels like the same broken promise. Today we're cutting through it. We're ranking the most popular workout apps from S tier, meaning it genuinely moves the needle, down to F tier, meaning it takes your money, your time, and gives you very little back. And I'll say this up front, one of the highest rated, most downloaded app categories in fitness ranks C tier at best, and the reason why is something the companies behind them really don't want you thinking about. We'll get there. Here's how we're judging. 4 criteria. Does the research show people actually stick with it and improve? Does it adapt to you specifically, or just hand everyone the same plan? Does it support progressive overload? That's the principle of gradually increasing training stress over time, which is the actual mechanism behind getting fitter and stronger. And does it justify the cost for a normal person who isn't training professionally? 7 categories, no sponsorships. Let's start at the bottom. The apps that rank F tier aren't ones most people talk about, they're the ones most people start with. You open the app, you see a grid of exercises, chest day, leg day, core. Each one with a demonstration GIF and a rep range. You do the workout, you come back next week, pick a different one. 3 months later, you haven't changed. Apps like Muscle & Strength's Workout Tracker, older versions of bodybuilding.com's app, and most of the 5,000 exercises style workout libraries that clog the App Store. These are essentially exercise encyclopedias dressed up as training plans. Think of them like a recipe book with no quantities, no timings, and no indication of what the dish is supposed to taste like when it's done. The ingredients are there, but without structure telling you how much, how often, and how to progress, you're just guessing. A 2019 systematic review in the British Journal of Sports Medicine found that the primary driver of long-term physical adaptation is progressive overload, not exercise variety. These apps have no progression logic. They can't tell if you're a beginner or advanced, if you're recovering or fresh, or if last week's session was too easy. Unless you already know how to program your own training, they give you the least important part, the exercise list, and leave out everything that actually makes training work. So if a library of exercises with no structure doesn't work, what about apps built around doing it with other people? Social fitness apps. Strava is the obvious one, but this also includes Nike Run Club's social layer, the leaderboard features in Peloton, and some of the group challenge functions in Garmin Connect. These are built on the idea that accountability and competition make you train harder and more consistently. And for a specific kind of person, that's true. If your friends are already consistent runners and you're all genuinely pushing each other, that accountability is real and it works. But a 2021 meta-analysis in Health Psychology Review found that social comparison in fitness has a split effect. It boosts short-term effort in people who already feel competent, and it increases dropout rates in people who feel behind. Social fitness apps are like training in a gym where everyone's showing off their heaviest lift, but nobody's spotting you. You're surrounded by activity. But the activity is theirs, not structured for you. There's also a format problem. Strava and Nike Run Club are built around cardio tracking. If your goal is body composition, strength, or anything that doesn't involve running a route, these tools weren't built for you. They rank D rather than F, because for endurance athletes and consistent runners, the tracking and segment features add genuine value. But for most people, they become a feed to scroll rather than a tool to use. Now we're at the one I mentioned at the start. The best-selling, most subscribed, most heavily marketed category in fitness apps. And it ranks C. On-demand class apps. The Peloton app, Les Mills Plus, Apple Fitness Plus, Center, and most of what Barry's and Feet offer have genuinely great production values, charismatic instructors, and libraries of hundreds of classes. If you've ever finished one of these sessions dripping and energized, I completely understand the appeal. But here's what the research actually shows. On-demand class apps are like a really good playlist for a road trip. They make the journey feel great. But they're not navigating. You're still in charge of the route, and most people don't know the route. The issue is periodization, the structured variation of training intensity, volume, and focus over time that produces measurable adaptation. A 2020 review in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research confirmed that moderately trained individuals require periodized training to keep improving beyond the first few months. On-demand class apps are almost never periodized for the individual. You choose Monday's class from the menu. Maybe it's a 45-minute hit with Robin Arzon. Maybe it's a 20-minute core flow. There's no structure connecting those choices into a progression that's building you toward anything. Some of these apps do offer structured plans. Les Mills' Body Pump, Peloton's Power Zone training blocks, and those versions do better. But even then, they can't adjust based on your response. Every user runs the same plan at the same pace. C-tier, because the motivation is real, especially for people returning to exercise. But the gap between "this feels like a great workout" and "this is efficiently building me toward a specific goal" is wide. And most people paying $15 to $30 a month for these apps don't realize the gap exists. B-tier is where things start getting genuinely useful, and it's shared between two very different kinds of apps. First, habit tracking apps with fitness integration. If you've ever fallen off a routine and then spent more time feeling bad about falling off than actually getting back on, this is for you. Apps like Streaks, Habitica, and the Habit module inside Finch work on a well-evidenced principle: implementation intentions, the psychological term for "I will do X at time Y in place Z," dramatically reduce the friction between knowing you should train and actually doing it. Think of habit tracking like a calendar reminder for your future self. It doesn't do the workout, but it massively reduces the chance that you forget or quietly let it slide for a week and then a month. UCL's habit formation research, led by Philippa Lally, one of the most cited studies in behavioral science, found that health habits take an average of 66 days to automate, with huge individual variation. Apps that reduce decision fatigue and build consistent cues are doing evidence-based work. The limit is that they don't coach you. They're scaffolding. You still need something to build on top. Also in B tier, calorie and macro tracking apps, and this one has a more complicated relationship with the research than most people realize. MyFitnessPal, Chronometer, and Lose It are the main players here. Used correctly, they have solid outcome evidence. A 2019 RCT published in Obesity found that consistent dietary self-monitoring was the single strongest predictor of successful weight loss maintenance over 12 months. Tracking apps are like turning the lights on in a room you've been navigating in the dark. You didn't move the furniture, you just finally see where everything is. For most people, awareness alone, seeing clearly where calories come from, produces meaningful change without obsessive counting. But there's a ceiling and a risk. A 2021 review in the Journal of Eating Disorders found that prolonged rigid calorie tracking was associated with increased food-related anxiety and, in a subset of users, patterns consistent with disordered eating, particularly in people with any prior history of restrictive behaviors. MyFitnessPal in particular has faced criticism for setting default calorie targets that are clinically too low for most people's actual needs. These apps work best as short-term calibration tools, a few weeks to understand your baseline, not as permanent daily monitors. B tier, because the outcome evidence is real, but how you use them matters as much as whether you use them. A tier is where most serious, consistent progress actually happens, and it's consistently underrated because these apps don't look as impressive as the class-based ones. No celebrity instructors, no cinematic production, just a plan that tells you exactly what to do today, what weight to use, when to increase it, and how long this block lasts. Apps like Boostcamp, which runs evidence-based programs including GZCLP, Reddit PPL, and Dr. Mike Israetel's RP hypertrophy templates. Strong, which lets you log and auto-progress any structured program, and Dr. Israetel's Renaissance periodization app specifically, are the clearest examples of this done well. A structured program app is like hiring an architect instead of buying a pile of bricks. Someone's already figured out how everything fits together. Your job is to show up and build. The International Society of Sports Nutrition's 2021 position, Stand on Resistance Training, is unambiguous. Progressive overload within a periodized structure is the foundational requirement for hypertrophy and strength gain in trained individuals. These apps operationalize exactly that. They tell you when to add weight, when to deload, and how to organize your training frequency. Everything the F and C tier options leave entirely to the user. Boostcamp is free. Strong has a free tier with basic logging. The RP app costs around $12 to $15 a month and is worth every penny for anyone focused on hypertrophy specifically. The limitation, and this is why it's A rather than S, is that most structured program apps are static. They run the same plan for every user. They can't adjust if you missed a week, if you're sleeping terribly, or if you've stalled and don't know why. That gap is exactly what the S tier closes. S tier goes to AI-personalized coaching apps. And before I name them, I want to be clear about what actually earns this rating, because a lot of apps use the word AI and mean almost nothing by it. Genuine adaptive coaching means the app changes your program based on your real-time data, your logged performance, your sleep quality, your heart rate variability, and your recovery trends, week to week, not just at sign-up. That is very different from an algorithm that picks a workout from a database. The apps that actually do this well. Future, which pairs you with a real accredited coach who uses AI-assisted check-ins and wearable data to adjust your program weekly. It's the most human version of this, and the outcomes data is strong. Whoop's coaching layer, which is best understood as a recovery-led training tool. It uses your HRV and sleep data to recommend training intensity each day, and for anyone who overtrains or chronically under-recovers, it's legitimately useful. And Freeletics, which uses an AI-generated adaptive training engine that adjusts based on your logged difficulty ratings across sessions. Think of an AI coaching app like a sat-nav tracking live traffic. A structured program is a map, accurate, and it'll get you there. But a real adaptive coaching layer is recalculating based on what's actually happening right now. The science here comes from auto-regulation, a well-established concept in sports science referring to adjusting training load based on an individual's real-time response rather than a fixed schedule. A 2022 meta-analysis in sports medicine found that auto-regulated training programs produce significantly greater strength gains compared to fixed load programs, particularly in trained individuals who've moved past the beginner stage. Future runs around $150 a month, which is a real cost, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Whoop is around $30 a month plus hardware. Freeletics is around $10 to $15. If budget is the constraint, a well-chosen structured program from Boostcamp combined with the free version of Strong will outperform anything in the C or D tier at zero ongoing cost. But if you've hit a plateau, if you're serious about your goals, or if you've historically struggled to adjust your training when life gets messy, adaptive coaching is the category with the strongest evidence for why it works. Here's the summary. F tier, generic workout library apps like the old bodybuilding.com app and most 5,000 exercises databases. Exercise selection without a structure around it is nearly useless. D tier, social fitness apps like Strava and Nike Run Club's community features, great for runners, limited for everyone else, and actively demotivating for people who feel behind. C tier, on-demand class apps, Peloton, Les Mills Plus, Apple Fitness Plus, Center, genuinely motivating but not navigating. B tier shared, habit tracking apps like Streaks and Habitaika, and calorie tracking apps like MyFitnessPal and Chronometer, powerful in the right context, both with real limitations if used without awareness. A tier, structured program apps, Boostcamp, Strong, RP Hypertrophy. The most reliable route to real progress for most people, and some of the best value in this entire list. S tier, AI-personalized coaching apps, Future, Whoop, Freeletics. The only category that actually closes the feedback loop. If you're choosing one thing right now, download Boostcamp, pick a program matched to your goal and experience level, and follow it for 12 weeks before you change anything. That single decision will do more for you than switching apps every month ever will. If this saved you from downloading something you'd have quit in 3 weeks, share it with someone who's currently standing in that same spot, phone in hand, overwhelmed, not sure where to start. Until next time, keep it smart, keep it simple, and keep it healthy.